And we are live.
All right, finally.
You recording?
Yeah, it looks like that's working. Say something.
Hello.
Okay, yeah, it's working.
All right. You're listening to the Verhoeven Effect podcast. I'm Colin,
And I'm Nathan.
and we are watching network television because me and Nathan generally do not watch network television. We are currently watching season 1 of The Blacklist, which first aired in 2013. We are watching season 2 of The Mentalist, which first aired in 2009. I always get screwed up by that. It says 2010, and then I got to do the math, and then I start to say 20. It's like, oh no, that's wrong.
Oh, okay.
And we are watching season 2 of Miami Vice, which first aired in 1985. And as always, we start with the Blacklist. We have season 1, episode 21, Berlin, number 8, which is total bullshit.
Yeah,
Because the whole idea of this episode is Red doesn't know who's after him. So why is he on the list?
I was
Anyways.
wondering that myself.
Yeah, that's just the flaw of the naming system. But whatever.
Yeah, well, I think this is a show that's like evolves over time.
Yeah. Original air date May 5th, 2014, NBC Monday. Liz refuses to work with Red after discovering the truth about the death of her father. Seeking to make amends and force Liz to see him, Red brings the FBI a case they can't ignore. Meanwhile, Liz reveals that she knows about Tom's secret life to the FBI. Showrunner John Bokenkamp, written by John Eisendrath and John Bokenkamp, and directed by Michael Zinberg. So we start
Yeah,
out. There's
yeah. Okay, go ahead.
We start out. We have some. Well, I don't know. Do you have a quick synopsis first, or are we just going into the play by?
No, it's just it's. I'm glad that she like finally admits to the FBI, like, oh yeah, my husband, is some kind of deep cover agent. Oh,
Yeah, it's fun. It's like Liz does all the things like you like if this actually happened, you're supposed to do, but because it's a show, it's like we're gonna ignore all that. But at least they make the effort to like this is what should happen.
yeah, yeah. I appreciated that.
We have some guy who's just coughing blood into a sink. His wife shows up and says like, Stella has a talent show. It's like, oh no. Guess who's not making it to the talent show?
Yep.
He just progressively gets worse as he does his job as being like in the back of an armored truck. So it's just like a armored truck courier hauling the money around. And I guess it was like specifically like the payroll for the like airline or something.
Yeah, it seemed kind of very reminiscent of like it's like, oh, is this like
It's like
the brain or,
Goodfellas.
yeah, or what was that called? No, it was what was the name? What's the German airline?
Lufthansa or something.
Yeah, the Lufthansa jobs. Like, oh, are they stealing the payroll? This guy an inside guy? Has he got lung cancer? Is he dying? And he's like doing this for his family? I mean, you never know with this show.
Yeah, I mean, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is.
uh, and suddenly he has like just a syringe full of something, but he never takes it.
Yeah.
And I was like, and like at first thought, oh, like, oh, is that the cure or is that the delivery device? I don't know. Apparently, it's a delivery device, and he just has it on him. I don't know how he got it, because this guy basically, you think he's like saying out some part of his plan because he essentially elects to die in this bank, and he
Yeah.
calls the police to say he's sick. And he leaves a recorded message to his wife that he loves her or something, and then he just falls over dead, and then like some people are like, it's like, no, we need a quarantine, and then everyone's just like, fuck that, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, no, this guy just vomited his lungs out on the floor. I think I'm out of here.
The guy pulls a gun. It's like, no, you're not. His name's Paul. He's like, he's like, yeah, he started bleeding from the ears and everything. Yeah, he's just bleeding from it.
Yeah.
And then and then we cut. I think that's the credits, and we come back from credits, and Liz and Wrestler are standing in Liz's like wrecked home, and this is like the aftermath of her having told him everything about what's going on. And Wrestler, who's like had a kind of a character change, and now is like more warm to Liz. Is just like, yeah, you should quit your job. He's like, we'll figure this out, Liz. So that's his character arc.
Yeah, he's changed. His he's moved in a different direction.
And then we have kind of a montage where she's being interviewed by FBI agents as she like admits to everything about Tom. And that was fun because they're trying to like they're basically kind of be in the audience. It's like, wait, he came in here and we interviewed him and we got nothing, but no, it was actually true what we thought he was. And she's like, yeah. It's like, don't you think that seems suspicious? And she's like, yeah.
Yeah, she was telling the guy, "Don't ever call him my husband again."
They also revealed that, like, everybody that Tom's associated with is dead, except for apparently Gina Zanatakos was in jail, and they were just like, "Oh yeah, she escaped," and then they just like leave it at that.
She escaped on work release, which is like, huh? Well, they put like international criminals. It's like, yeah, just go work at the local sandwich shop. It's like, yeah, what could go wrong?
And then we cut to Tom, and he tries losing his tail, and he does by capturing his tail.
Yeah.
Red's going over some documents in his plane, and just everything's bad for Red. It's like, yeah, these numbers aren't working out. Dembe's like, all right.
So I want to go eat some more of that marijuana ice cream.
How many bullets should I order?
Yeah.
Then we have Tom torturing his tail. And he says, like, you don't choose Berlin chooses you. And so this is where we're like, oh, Berlin's a guy, I guess.
Yeah, it's a person. Yeah, I just thought it was a geographical location for the longest time.
I mean, it could be both. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that once. It's like, yeah, it's got to be that, and then it's like, oh, well, maybe it's a group based in Germany or not. Who knows? Yeah. Maybe it's a guy.
And then we cut to Liz talking to Cooper. She puts forth her resignation, which is, the right thing to do.
Yeah, it seems like this was probably should have happened.
I mean, she never wanted to be on this force in the first place. She's compromised, and it's incredibly stressful to her. So it's like, yeah, get somebody else on this team. And then she tells Cooper that Red killed her father, and I think Red's in there, isn't he?
Yeah, because because Cooper's like, I want to talk to her alone, and Red's like, no, I don't think so. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I think because you don't notice he's in there at first because like she doesn't even acknowledge that Red's in there, and then even when she's like, when Red's like speaking to her directly, she just like talks to Cooper. She just ignores him completely. But Red says he's got info on Tom, so it's like, then we learn that what the armored car courier, like what he has called the colon virus, which I looked up a little bit ago, which is not a real virus, but weirdly, it's when you look it up, the first thing that pops up is Marburg virus.
Yeah, Ebola Marburg.
Well, it's not Ebola, but it acts pretty much exactly like it's called it's a VHS. It's like or not VHS, a VHF, which is a viral hemorrhagic fever, which basically where you bleed from everywhere.
Yeah, you just dissolve from the inside out. Yeah, it's a hemorrhagic type fever.
And it's called it's considered like a group 4 pathogen or something, which is like the highest at the World Health Organization. So it's like no known cure, incredibly contagious. So it's like on the same level as Ebola. So
yeah, it's nasty stuff.
And it's called like Marburg because like they were some scientists in the 60s were like dissecting monkeys from Africa, and then like it got out.
It went through the ventilation system in a hospital in Germany.
Yeah. Killed like 7 people, but 30 people got infected.
Yeah.
And then, and then the Russians, of course, tried to militarize it. So,
of course.
So that's out there. But here it's like an even, like they make it seem like it's an even worse virus than that. It's like it's so bad, like you can't even work on it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's like that. See, that's the thing, like with because I think we both read that same book, The Hot Zone, that talked about that. Um, and it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, it's terrible and it's contagious, but it's not like influenza, COVID contagious. Because if it was, it's like, oh yeah, you can just kiss half the world goodbye. Like
yeah,
uh,
it's not airborne, but it has to be like direct.
yeah,
But so if someone sneezes on you, you can get it, but it's not floating in the air ready for you to breathe in. So
well, remember the what was that weird one? 28 days later.
yeah,
Yeah, that was basically an Ebola virus that they modified to make people insane, and that's why everyone was bleeding all the time, and all their eyes were, all the blood vessels were blown out in their eyes and stuff. It's because it was basically a hemorrhagic virus that was spread through bodily fluids. Um,
but Red's saying that like this virus was brought about to like try to kill him. Like they'll kill half the world just to get to me.
yeah, it's like that's a lot of
Which seems very narcissistic.
and also like from the planning phase, it's like, yeah, we're just going to essentially destroy the world that we're operating in. Because we're all like arms dealers and dealing with governments and secret groups, and it's like, yeah, most of those people are going to die or just be lost in the collapse of civilization, but damn it, Red will be dead. It's like, oh, this is like, it's like using a nuclear bomb to kill one guy in a city or something. Like it seems a little over the top, but it's like, it's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, for the blacklist, I mean, that's what you want. I mean, Red's the center of the universe, and so someone's going to kill the universe to get Red. So,
Yeah.
Although here it's like the guy altered the virus so that it wouldn't infect anybody else, just him.
Yeah.
Somehow, so like so the threat is there. It's like, no, that's a virus that could kill everybody, but he modified it so it just killed this guy.
And that never backfires.
And also, he's like the only one with a cure. But Red says they're looking for a guy named Bruce Saunders. So they think he might be working on it, but we'll find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote down the cure was in Paul's pocket, but that's not the cure. That's just the virus, I guess. And then we find out. Then we cut to like another like kind of slightly overweight guy coughing, like so he's the next victim, Mr. Klein. Which it seems like if you gave him that virus, he might die from other reasons before the virus gets him.
Yeah, that guy was looking pretty rough before. Like this is what did they call that in COVID? Comorbidities. It seems like there was some comorbidities there.
So then Red and Liz meet Dr. Sanders, and they're like in a psych ward. Which I didn't notice that at first, and I was like, "Oh wait, this is a psychiatric ward."
Yeah, when he kept saying like, or when he was talking about the staff there, he's like, "Yeah, they're pretty good, but I fired I forget what the one lady's name was. I fired her 3 times, and she keeps coming back." And then I was looking at her and was like, "Oh, he's in a psychiatric facility. Like he's not some doctor doing research. He's a crazy person."
Yeah. Because at first they're like, "Oh, they at a college," and but I started looking at the people in the background. They're kind of doing like the looking at their hands, like they don't know what their hand is. So like, oh, this okay. Nobody.
Yeah, these people are on antipsychotics.
And apparently he got this way because he gave himself meningitis to test out a cure, and then like his kind of scattered mind was the result of it.
Oh yeah, meningitis will fry your brain.
And then so he's trying, and then the guy's like talking about like conspiracy theory stuff. So like, and then Liz gets fed up with it and leaves because she thinks it's some like ruse that Red is setting up.
Right.
But then they find out that someone is using Sanders' research, but is testing it in a lab somewhere. And then also, they're sitting on a bitch, and like Tom has like because the guy tailing Tom like had a spider tattoo on his neck, and then like you see Red, it's like, hey, does this look familiar to you? It's a spider tattoo. And like you kind of flip around, you see like all the blood on the back of it. Like, oh, Tom just sent him the guy's neck. Okay.
Yeah, he just cut the. It was like a black widow with the
Yeah.
red hourglass. It was a cool looking tattoo. Probably not something I'd put on my neck or body, but it did look cool.
And then they interview Sanders again. He keeps saying the Agent UD 4126, which corresponded to like a code on the badge. So it was like a CDC code or something like that. So they're able to like narrow it down to some guy named Dr. Nicholas Vogel.
Yeah.
That Amir is able to figure out by all the badge stuff. It's like, which actually I like that stuff because there's always like, you know, what's all this shit on my driver's license? And like, it all has a meaning, but you just like, you get to ignore it. It's like, all right, whatever. And then we have Mira and Wrestler like interrogate Dr. Vogel.
And that guy, his name's Brennan Brown, the actor. He's been in all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah, okay. I did yeah, because I had to watch this in a weird way. I didn't get to write down any of the special character actors in this episode. So
Yeah, he's someone who I remember from. It's like, oh, I've seen this guy in everything.
okay.
He did a good job too, as being kind of this snide, arrogant person.
Yeah, he figured he was gonna have like a bigger part, but there's like that part's to be revealed, so he kind of gets shoved to the side. But I was like, Cooper doesn't want Liz to resign. There's also like something in place where it's like if she resigns, then Red's going to jail.
Yeah.
It's like all his immunity is going to be rescinded. So like Vogel's not giving up any info, and then we cut to a bunch of different people that they're all been infected. And he's all blackmailing all of them. And then in the midst of that, we get to the end. We find out that Liz infected Dr. Vogel with the virus to blackmail him back.
Yeah.
So she's learning from Red.
That's an interesting, like, interrogation technique. And you think at first it's like, well, they could never do that. But then what you're talking about being released is like, oh, yeah, they'd absolutely do that. This guy would just disappear to a black site and that'd be that. It's like, yeah, he died in custody. It was terrible. Sorry.
And so they were able to do that because the guy from Paul, the guy from the beginning, like saved that and kind of sacrificed himself rather than do the thing he was being blackmailed to do. So you don't really give that credence. You just have to think about that. It's like, it ends up working out for Paul in the future. Well, it doesn't work out for him. I mean, it works out for the future, not for Paul. Paul's dead.
Yeah.
And I doubt the FBI is going to like, here's a reward for doing a good job. That's not going to happen. But, you know, there's a future to live in. And then we have Liz like going through like it's like a montage. She's going through all the blacklist cases, and then she's trying to put everything together. And then she finds a pattern, and like all the cases that we've seen, like they all come together. But then even in like when they explain it all, it's like, well, not all of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, the big ones.
I mean, you remember the stuff she's talking about. It's like, I remember that guy. I remember his victim. I remember what happened to him. It's like, okay, that's again, bunch of string diagrams, you know, in your room. Like, this is what crazy people do, make these connections. And only in TV and movie world does it ever work out.
Unless it's The Wire. Then you get all that cool stuff, but then nobody ever solves any of the crime because greed wins.
Yeah. It's like, I have the answer, but I also have a suitcase of $100,000 in drug money. So hell with the answer. I'm getting out of this city before it collapses. Literally.
But this is where they mentioned that like Red doesn't know who's coming after him. That's like what's scaring Red the most, I guess.
Yeah.
Because even like when you had the Ansel Garrett guy who like basically was about to kill Red many a times.
Yeah,
like,
he's been close.
Like that guy was sent from Alan, so he's like he knows that danger. This danger is unknown. then we have Liz like trying to like take back the whole FBI capturing Red thing. So she's still in the mix, so she can't like I don't know. I don't know. She hasn't resigned yet, or just the papers on the desk, but it's in flux right now. Because I guess we should say this is a two-parter, so
we don't know at all yet.
We're not gonna, so it's not gonna. But then we have the pilot. There's a pilot for some Russian aircraft.
It looks like a DC-3 or something.
I
thought, because when I first saw that aircraft, I was like, oh, are they using like the cover of an air show of World War II aircraft to move this thing around New York? But then in a later scene, we see that, they scrambled F-14 Tomcats to shoot it down. It's like, they're going through space and time to shoot these planes. It's two antique aircraft chasing each other. It's amazing.
Because it's twin engine like prop plane. It's like a prisoner transport, because there's like the person who's like probably Berlin is like handcuffed with a hoodie on, but they need the keys. And also the pilot just like shoots some of the passengers, but not all of them.
Yeah, there's something he shoots the co-pilot. What's going on?
That made no sense. I hope it does, because there's no conclusion I can think of where any of that made any sense.
Yeah, just like cool visually, but it's like, what's going on here?
And so the FBI show up at the there's also like this tactical team that comes in to take over the airport, and then the FBI shows up, and so they just turn tail. The plane's about to land, but then he gets a message to take off, so they take off. So that's when they send they scramble the what do you call it?
Tomcats.
Yeah, but no, what's the footage when it's like anybody can buy it?
Stock footage.
Yeah, they scramble the stock footage to go after the Russian aircraft. And then also at the same time, Red's like sitting down at a bench and he's talking to Liz, and he's about to be arrested. And like Red pulls a gun. He's like kind of like, it looks like he's pulling it on Liz for a bit.
Yeah.
And then he's like surrounded by the FBI and cops, and then Red tells like one of his fantastical stories about a near-death experience because he got like stung by some lionfish somewhere.
Yeah.
And so then he starts to surrender, puts the gun away, and then we see that Russian prop plane is like crashing in the background, and that's the end of the episode.
And by the way, just for some more paint on the pastel, I'm not exactly sure, but I think like the F-14 Tomcats fired an AMRAAM missile at this plane flying over New York, I think, or Washington or something. And it's like, it blew the engine up in another not so special effect. But it's like, that would have blown that plane to pieces. It's like,
no, just hit the engine. It was okay.
Yeah. But again, they used the stock footage of like, if they fired a Sidewinder, I might believe that, because those are the long, skinny ones.
Yeah.
But they fired like a radar-guided anti-jamming missile with like a 300-pound warhead on it. It's like, they're just blowing that plane to pieces. But okay.
Yeah.
Again, it's just little things I see where I'm like, okay.
I mean, that's a.
You have to cut the budget. You can't like build a set.
Yeah, you couldn't get permission from the Navy to do that stuff for your show unless your show was like propaganda for the Navy. So of course you just use stock footage because I mean it's real, it's real footage of that stuff going on.
I mean, those planes really took off with that aircraft carrier in the 80s, and it's off the USS Enterprise or something that doesn't exist anymore. It's like, it was just funny to me. The episode was good. It's just sometimes I see this stuff and I'm like, well, they could.
Well, I don't think that.
Stock footage.
I think the episode's kind of all over the place. It's fine as a build-up as long as the next episode pays off.
Yeah, I mean, this is dependent on payoff.
Yeah.
This is one of those episodes where, like, on its own, this was a mess, and nothing paid off. But it's not. It's a two-parter, so yeah. But if they just don't follow up on that and we like end up in the woods somewhere with Red crying, it's like, well, that didn't go the direction I thought it was going to go. But.
And also, like, I don't know, like, is there somebody we're supposed to expect the hooded person to be that like would be surprising?
Anthony Hopkins.
Because I don't think there's like any like kind of major character that like didn't die or maybe died, or like surely they're dead and they would come back and it'd be surprising, or if they're just going to reveal a guy and he's just supposed to be somebody.
Yeah.
Unless it's just Tom again. It's like, I'm Berlin. It's like, wait, what?
Wow.
Wait, so is this a Fight Club situation?
Yeah.
You discovered yourself and you...
Yeah, it's Tom with multiple personalities.
Yeah.
It's like you find out everyone in the show has multiple personalities. We're hunting ourselves.
Yeah, see, it's a multiverse. And they're colliding together.
When I was at CERN, did I tell you what happened when I was at CERN and I smoked a bong? It was wonderful. It was like a tentacled bong, and they turned the machine on, and all of a sudden I'm 3 different people at once. And that's when the gates of hell open, Liz. And I learned a lot about myself. Well, this just took a whole different direction.
And that's how I learned to make this mojito.
Yeah.
It's like a gun goes off, the mojito, like the bottom of the mojito, like cuts out.
Yeah.
And then Red's not fazed by it all. He's like, it's a waste of a mojito.
It's not what I thought would happen.
Which always reminds me of that joke from The Critic, where he has his alcoholic father, and like there's like a scene where like a gun goes off and it hits his dad's like glass, whatever alcoholic drink he has in it. And he kind of like looks sad for a moment, and he goes, "Not to worry," and he just has another alcoholic drink in the other hand.
Yeah, it's like that's the most important. Oh no, I got a replacement right here, and not that there's random gunfire sailing through. Yeah.
And then for well, I don't know, do you have any speculations of what's going to happen, or are you just like waiting for the next episode?
I'm just waiting for the next. Oh, okay. Yeah, because mine starts to roll the next episode, and it's like, oh, I want to watch this. Like, no, don't do it. I'm gonna go watch The Boys instead.
Yeah, I only got one more episode of Blacklist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Oh no.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Huh. Okay. Yeah. Never mind. I was thinking about some other things. So in Mentos, we have season 2, episode 21, 1854, which corresponds to the alphabet, so it spells red.
I figured as much, but it's because it's the first number one we've had in the Mentalist, right?
Yeah.
Well.
Well, it's, just something that's always associated with red. That's just their fun little rhyming scheme. Which the only thing we're like kind of, I think one episode is called Russet Potatoes, and like, are they red in any way? And like, I guess in other countries they are kind of a brown red.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I think we looked that one up. It's like in Spain, in the Basque region,
or
under
like
the white light,
or like russet in like French means like red brown or something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Original air date May 6, 2010, CBS Thursday. A brilliant mathematician is shot and killed by a clown, and the team discovers that he was working on a priceless code-breaking device. Showrunner Bruno Heller, written by Leonard Dick and Ken Woodruff, directed by Charles Beeson. So yeah, we have some guy just breathing heavy, and he's in a hurry. And we have a clown giving chase. That seems like something out of It.
Yeah, it was kind of weird.
Like the clown just pops out and shoots the guy. Leaves the gun, cuts his finger off, and leaves. And the victim is Noah Villaquette, I think his name is.
Yep. And in that scene, they don't show it, but they have wonderful Foley work. Because it's like, oh, he's taking out prune shears to cut the finger off, and then you hear the finger being cut off.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like, ugh, this is jarring.
And like they show it like being clamped down and then like cut away, and it's just everything all you need to just imagine it happened, but it didn't actually.
Yeah.
So we kind of like cut to the next scene where it's like they're cording off the place and CBI shows up. And then like they're kind of looking things over, and like Liz is like, or not Liz, Lisbon is like, hey, because the local cop's like, hey, this isn't our big thing. We try to do everything not to disturb the crime scene. And Lisbon's like, yeah, you're doing a good job. Like, it's like, it seems like you guys have a handle. What's the problem? And they like, turn a corner, and there's just like 800 clowns like waiting for a job.
Yeah, someone put like a ad in a trade daily saying, we need a clown to be in a TV show. Show up with your clown outfit on.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, an intricate murder with deception.
And then like Van Pelt's like intervening the clowns, and she's creeped out by them. So
yeah,
but it's also because they're like trying to be cute, and it's also like, is he hitting
one
on
guy's
me?
hitting on her, and yeah.
And then Jane and Lisbon go to talk to the family of Noah. He was like kind of a autistic math genius.
Yeah.
We have his wife Daphne, who's Lucy Davis. She's been in a bunch of things you probably know. She was like in Shaun of the Dead. She was also like in Wonder Woman as like her like British like friend that helped her out in like the first part of it.
Yeah, I noticed that actress kind of seemed to slip in and out of an American accent.
Yeah.
Where I couldn't tell, like, is she supposed to be foreign? Is that part of it? Or is she just like, hey, we need someone on set for 48 hours. What are you doing? And like, oh, I've never done an American accent. Okay. Just we're aiming for Southern California trailer trash. Do that.
But if you're off a little bit, you'll just seem more interesting. So don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You'll be like Joss Whedon, who I guess like lives in Britain now, and now he's starting to use like British terminology, and now everyone thinks like everyone hates him even more.
Oh, the Madonna syndrome.
Yeah.
Where you live in a country for 3 years and lifelong speech patterns start to change. It's like, not how it works.
I don't know. There's a podcast like I listen to. He's from Ireland, and yeah, I've been listening to him do a podcast for like 6 or 8 years, something like that. And he lives in America now. He does sound like an American, but you can always tell he's not originally an American, but he does sound American.
Yeah, one of the guys that works on my car, like he's from, where's he from? He's from like London or something, but something like that. And it's like you talk to him and you're like, yeah, he sounds like an American, but then it's like, no, he doesn't. Wait a minute. And I'm like, one time I was like, where are you from? He goes, oh, I came here when I was like 15. It's like, oh, okay. He goes, yeah, you can still tell. I said, oh, yeah. It said, it's not obvious, but if you pay attention, it's like, you can tell it's kind of like the pitch is off, I guess, is how you'd say it. Because he's not saying, oh, bloody hell, it's nothing that obvious. He's not doing like a chimney sweep for Mary Poppins or something, but he's like, oh, yeah, he kind of fades in and out. And he also looks like a marionette. He's literally the tallest, thinnest man I've ever seen. Like, how do you work on cars, dude? It's like, because his arms and legs literally look 3 times longer than.
I mean, I don't know, like skinny would be nice because it just get up somewhere without scraping your arm all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, I get, but he's like well over 6 foot. It's like, but they have lifts and hoists, so it doesn't matter.
So
bring the work to you.
Daphne, the wife, was like keeping them afloat because apparently, even though he's like a super math genius and he wrote like these books, like he doesn't have any regular work, and so she was keeping them afloat with waitressing.
Yeah.
Even though it seems like they have like a decent house in California. So
yeah, she was talking about like, yeah, we barely have money to eat. And it's like, huh? Well, then you find out it was his house originally. Like he got it somehow.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, that's right.
Because because the stuff that happens later in the episode. Like, oh, okay.
And then she's saying like Noah was doing day trading, and so that might be some reason why he was killed. And yeah, they say that Noah was afraid of clowns, so that was like a tragic death for him. Because not only did he die horribly, he died afraid.
Yeah, see, I immediately like wrote the brother in as like, oh, the brother dressed up as a clown because either he's like got something going with the wife, which didn't seem very possible because like Noah was like a little skinny like math guy, and his wife it kind of made sense that he was married to her. But her his brother was like a guy my size. It's like I don't think they're having an affair. I think maybe there was some reason that he did it.
Although Jane is suspicious of the brother at first because he's like, "You don't seem too upset about this." And it's like, I don't know, my brother was weird.
Yeah,
weird stuff's gonna happen to him. You tell me his car's on fire. You tell me he's dead. I have the same reaction.
he's a weirdo. You never know what's gonna happen with these weirdos. Don't make it my problem, you psychic fuck. He wasn't quite playing that character, but yeah.
But they point at Tolman Bunting, who's like Noah's chess opponent.
Yeah.
And Bunting's some puzzle master guy, so they go to a shop of puzzles, and it's played by Fisher Stevens.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this guy.
Who is definitely a character actor, because he... one of his most famous roles is playing an Indian in what's that called? With Johnny Five. I can't remember the name of the movie.
Oh yeah, Short Circuit.
Yeah. I also always remember him from that movie Hackers, where he plays like the corporate hacker.
Yeah, like guy on a skateboard who's just a douchebag because he's like 40 years old, or he's not a young kid anymore, but he's like still embracing that culture.
It's almost a similar character here, but not
yeah. This TV show draws a lot of parallels because as soon as you bring in like troubled math genius and day trading, I'm thinking, oh, they're retelling this Pi, the movie. The guy figures out how to hack the stock market with super algorithms and proofs and then it's like, oh no, now it's sneakers. He's made the C-Tech astronomy box again, which has come up before. It was in The Mentalist. No, that was in Blacklist. Never mind. Okay. But yeah, I got a lot of inferences to other movies from this, because whenever you say troubled math guy and you start talking about stock market, it's like, oh yeah, they're just doing Pi. Okay. It's actually a really cool movie, by the way.
Yeah. And then so Jane and Bunting start playing a chess game, but like in their heads.
Yeah.
Which is something I hate, where it's like being good at chess equates to being a genius. It's like, no, you're just good at a game. It doesn't equate to anything. Look at any chess genius. Like, that's the only thing they're good at. They're not like...
Well, I always think back to the Kirk Spock, because remember they were always playing multi-dimensional chess, and it was part of some stories where they'd be speaking in code where like Kirk would be like, bishop to king bishops 3. Because Spock could never beat Kirk at chess, and it's like Spock is obviously like the genius, but it's like, no, Kirk's a tactical genius, and they're also playing like 3-dimensional chess, which they never explain how it works, but it's like, okay, well, it's future chess. But yeah, that was always
complicated, so it must be.
That was always the interesting thing with Kirk and Spock, where they played that off as like, yeah, Spock could never beat chess, when Spock is clearly like a science super genius and a Vulcan, half a Vulcan. But nope, Kirk's a tactician, never wins. But in this thing, they're talking, it's like, yeah, both these guys are smart, so they can also do like, Queen's rules, chess calls in their head and keep the game going and all that. And it's like hardly anyone could do that, except for like chess grandmasters and people like that. They can do that because that's all they do.
Sometimes I just hate, like, it's just a trope, a shortcut where it's like somebody's got chess, they're a genius. I remember they did it in Superman Red Sun, where they had I can't remember the main villain of Superman.
Lex Luthor.
Lex Luthor is he's like, at the same time he's playing 10 games of chess, he's curing cancer, and he's invented a new power cell, like all in in 15 minutes of each other. It's like, okay, we get it. He's a genius.
Yeah, he's smart.
Just have to do with anything.
Any one of those things, I would be like, oh, I'm impressed. Yeah, but
So I just hate it as like a shortcut, but I know what you're getting at. Because like I don't know, I was never good at chess, but
I never played it at all. I understand how the game is played and I enjoy playing it, but then I play people that are really good and I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know anything about this game.
yeah, well, it's like I don't know. It's a weird thing about like it's with video games too. It's like once you like actually like to be good at it, you have to like dig down, know all these details, and it's like I just want to come at it like naturally and see if I'm any good at it, and that's fun. It's not fun to know like every inch of the game and then just
Yeah.
like activate whatever section of like this is the counter and all that stuff. Like that sounds absolutely awful. That's not fun anymore. It's like not spontaneous at all. Like that's not a game anymore. That's just like a rule set.
Well, that's why checkers is a thing too. Checkers is more what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Just throw yourself into the fray. There is a strategy, but there's no like, oh, you're using the Perlman gambit stuff. No, they don't have any of that.
And also, I could just never beat the AI in any of those chess games. So
No.
it's like,
Nope.
I remember one time I like played like there's like a chess club I had to go to one time, and somebody like was able to like beat me in 4 moves, and it's like that just made me feel really bad. But also like I didn't know the form. It's like if you move the knight on the right side, it's like and somebody just and like you don't like move the bishop or a pawn in the right way, they can beat you in 4 moves. And it's like it's not like I was stupid, it's that they knew that thing.
It's like a guy who can do pull trick shots.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of logic. It's like, yeah, you can do that to people that don't know what it's coming, but yeah, play another guy who has any level of skill and you're not getting trick shots. It's yeah, that stuff's kind of interesting. That's why I like Tetris. Even though I know there's a whole thing there and I actually understand some of it, I still just like to natively play Tetris sometimes.
Yeah.
And usually I can get it to the point where I'm playing where it's going so fast I can't see the pieces. It's like, well, I lost, but it's like everything's a blur on the screen, so I must have done pretty good.
Yeah.
And according to Facebook, I was like top 10%. It's like great. But I'm still not. And then you find out like almost everyone's 90%. Like, yeah, I didn't think it's like a window opened in my mind or anything.
Again, it's like fun to just do that casually, but then if you had to like, well, I got to get to the top 0.01%, then it's not fun anymore.
Yeah.
Then it's a job, and how much does that pay?
Yeah.
Bunting talks about like Noah wanting to like make a bet, but he didn't want to make a bet with him. So then that sends him off onto like, okay, I guess Noah was betting instead of actually like day trading.
Yeah. Well, because they also look at like Noah's computer stuff, and it's like he never bought a stock in his life. Like,
yeah.
No evidence of that.
Yeah. Van Pelt finds out like, yeah, he's never bought a stock. And then so Daphne calls, and she's afraid that someone's in her house, and the CBI clear the house, and they find a safe in the floor. Lisbon opens up the safe with the severed finger that got cut off in the beginning.
Yeah. And Jane's having tea in her kitchen. Old tea detective.
And this is where I wrote down, it's like, is Daphne like, is she involved with this somehow? And like, she just called the cops on herself. And that was a good guess.
Wait, alibi.
And then we have like, I forget how this gets linked up. They get something like they connect his account to some guy named like Beast Slayer online, and Van Pelt's finding it's some guy named like Alec Mosca. Who I wrote down, it's Scott Menville plays the actor, but you really don't know who he is, but he's in like 300 things because he's also a voice actor. So that's where he gets most of his credits from, is some voice work. Which I kind of feel sorry about like big animated movies because of the money they make, and like all the cast is just like actual like millionaire actors, and like you just kicked out all these voice actors.
Yeah.
But luckily there's a lot of work out, so they can make up for it in volume.
Yeah. They just have to work a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah, you do books
But
on
they don't have to
tape.
work out all the time and look beautiful
Yeah,
either. It's like I'm behind the mic. I mean, you ever seen the guy that voices like Archer? It's just like, oh yeah, this guy's that's the voice actor.
um. And so yeah, then Moscow is like some part of like a gambling ring or whatever. And it's funny when they arrest him, he's like trying to like throw something out the window, and he has like a bag of cash, and they're like, it's like we, because Cho and Rigsby like show up and like we're CBI, we need to talk to you, and then he starts running and they break in, and like they're explaining again, they're like we're CBI, and he's like what the hell's the CBI, and Cho just goes we're like the FBI, only more conveniently located.
Yeah. Yeah, because that guy thought he was there to shake him down for a bookie that he owed money to.
Yeah.
Like we said, we were cops. We identified ourselves. It's like everyone does that. Haven't you seen TV? And Cho's like, no, nobody does that.
Yeah, so yeah, Cho's interviewing Mosca, and he talks about how like Noah was making gambling picks, and like for like the first 2 weeks or whatever, everything he guessed was right, and then like for the last 3 weeks, they've all been wrong. So they're like, oh, something must have been on Noah's mind. So
Yeah.
And then Jane goes back to Bunting. He gets a gun pulled on him by his bodyguard because he pretends to have a gun in his pocket. So she pulls a gun on him. And then, Lisbon pulls a gun on that lady. She's like, put the gun down. But somehow, like, nobody gets shot. And then they walk into the back of like this puzzle store, and it's like some cybersecurity thing.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
You got servers set up in the background, so apparently, like, this whole puzzle thing is just kind of a front for his like cybersecurity gig.
Yeah.
Which he says isn't associated with like any country. It's just kind of like, so he's
I'm for sale.
Yeah, he's freelance
Highest bidder.
cybersecurity.
Yeah.
And so yeah, he made an offer to like 3 different people to make this like universal code breaker. To break into everything, or like you said, like it has a certain name in sneakers.
The SeaTac astronomy box.
Oh, okay.
It's an anagram for too many secrets. So.
So CBI visit Oliver McDaniel, who's in a Sidetrack Award.
Yeah.
This is played by Evan Peters, who you might remember as Quicksilver from the X-Men movies.
I do.
Who does all that slow-mo stuff. So.
Yep.
Which I did not recognize. It. I was like, because there's so many people in this episode, like, oh, they did something else other than this, and I clicked on him. I was like, oh, he's that guy. Okay. And then so of course Oliver and Noah knew each other because apparently they were in the same grad school when they were teenagers.
Yeah, they all went to the nuts like mathematicians college.
Yeah.
It's like just full of math geniuses that are all troubled and crazy in some way.
And they both don't handle real life very well, but
no.
But math and puzzles.
Yeah, because he starts talking about like the interdimensional lords or something, and Jane, of course, is like, "Oh, those guys, yeah,
they're always up to something.
They're not doing anything good." Which I thought the reason Jane was doing that was because this guy was faking this for some reason, and Jane knew it. But it's like, oh no, Jane's just having a laugh because this guy's nuts.
Yeah, it's like trying to be on his side for a bit before he insults him.
Yeah,
and he insults his intelligence, and then like Oliver threatens that he's going to cut his eyes out with a spoon, but Jane just shrugs it off. It's like, you're not going to do that.
Let's not do that. Let's skip that.
I forget. Jane has some reason why he knows he won't ever actually like hurt anybody. It's just all talk. But, like Jane is also a genius among all these geniuses, but he specializes in sort of like human emotions and how to read them. So that's where he has one up on all these guys here.
Yeah.
But of course, as Jane and Lisbon are leaving after they don't get a lot of clues, because they got like they went into the safe deposit box and there was just like a comic book in there and like a chess set, and then Jane's able to find the key. So they're basically looking for the locker that the key belongs to, and they think Oliver will know where it is.
Well, it was kind of cool because he had like a $500 glass chess set in the main room of his house, and Jane was like, why is the cheap Chinese wooden one in the safe?
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing valuable about this chess set, and he starts shaking the pieces, and like underneath the felt of the king is the key to the locker
Yeah.
with a number written on it.
Yeah. Just says, I think 42.
Yeah.
Um, and so as they're leaving, and so they told him about the locker. So as they're leaving, Oliver escapes the institution.
Yeah, like within 10 minutes of talking to him.
Well, apparently he had copied like one of the guards like badge.
Yeah, he'd been
somehow.
leaving on and off forever. So
Yeah. But yeah, also the guy asked Lisbon for a back rub, and she's like, no.
a shiatsu massage.
Yeah. So Jane intuits something that like there's some hospitality that he's going to be looking for. Either that's where the locker is, or that's where Oliver is.
Oh, and he also had a white noise generator in his room that played the sounds of the sea.
Oh yeah.
And he had a poster on the wall of like bikini girls at the beach, and so.
And I don't know. Like, there must be a river that Sacramento's next to, because I don't think it's next to the ocean. So, it just must be like a river that runs through it. Because they keep having stuff with like beaches in these episodes.
Yeah.
Like inside Sacramento. But yeah, it's like yeah. Jane's like asking Van Pelt like all these questions, like if this, where would you go? And then she kind of narrows it down to this hotel that he goes to, which has kind of a sketchy hotel clerk because he's apparently offering sex workers like at the bellhop.
Yeah, and
desk.
Jane's like, I'm not looking for companionship.
But then CBI like proper gets like a hint that Oliver's like heading for Brazil because one of the credit cards he copied got like a flight for Brazil, and then Jane literally says, "Flight's a misdirect." So Jane's waiting for Oliver to find the locker. They follow him outside the hotel, and they go to like it's like a shoreside amusement park or something.
Yeah.
And then Oliver's attacked by some guy in disguise, which I thought he killed him at first. But
yeah, I thought he like stabbed him or something.
Yeah.
Just went down like a sack of laundry. He's like, what did he do?
Cho and Lisbon give chase, and then Jane checks out the locker the guy was trying to pry open, but there's nothing inside. And also, like, he puts the key in and it doesn't fit, I think. Well, I mean, yeah it doesn't, because he finds out. Because find out that Bunting was the guy in disguise, and the locker key was a puzzle itself, because 42 didn't correspond to number 42. It was like grid position 4, something 2, like in an L, or maybe like that'd be more like a chess grid or something like that. I'm not sure. But yeah, Jane finds the locker, and then there's just like a mysterious black box inside.
Well.
Okay, yeah.
And then Oliver and Tolman are taken back to CBI headquarters.
Yeah, so Lisbon's interrogating Bunting. And then like some higher ups that he just knows people and they get him out almost immediately. So
yeah, like multiple violent crimes were committed. Like, yeah, he's free to go. He's like, oh, he must have pictures of the attorney general with sheep or something, because like that's very unusual.
And then
but it just establishes that Tolman's like untouchable, and therefore like immediately in my mind, well, he didn't kill him because obviously this guy can get out of stuff. So
yeah.
That's not going to be the CBI is not going to like go into a massive political fight with the, whoever the are in California. So.
Well, there's kind of a misdirect or like a too obvious thing where they're talking with Bunting and they're like, it's like, what would you do to get this like box? And he's like, oh, anything besides killing.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you'd probably kill somebody for this thing. But then we have Cho interrogates Oliver, and he talks about like Oliver wanted to find the machine so he could build his own and sell it to make enough money to build his bunker to hide from the aliens or whatever.
Yeah. Like no, yeah, it's like half the people. You're describing half the people that work in tech there.
And then Jane like has Oliver look at the device first to like kind of see how it works, because then he's gonna like set up. He's gonna set up Bunting here because they take the device to his place. The brother seems immediately suspicious because they're trying to test it out, see if it'll hack into Lisbon's records.
Yeah, they put Lisbon's personnel file on a disc. Like Jane happens to have it with him. It's like, oh, okay, this isn't what this is. But
yeah, but like the thing doesn't work at first, but then the wife like comes over and kind of like stealthily hits some dip switches on the device, which Jane is able to spot because that's what he's looking for. And then a message pops up and it's saying, "My wife killed me," and the wife did kill him because he wasn't going to sell the box for $2 million to Bunting because he thought it would unsettle the universe or whatever.
well, he just didn't want his stuff used to like hurt people.
Yeah.
And having like the C-Tech astronomy box, you would hurt a lot of people, especially a guy like Bunting who's just like, I have no morals. I freely admit it.
And
I'm proud of that.
He also was going to sell to everybody. So
yeah, sell to the Chinese, sell to the Russians.
And then kind of a fun thing is like Jane knew it was the wife all along because everything in the house was turned upside down except for the kitchen because that was like the one area of the house that she controlled. So.
The tea detective.
And then we have Bunting comes in with like a legal document, so that he gets the device. And then but Jane like broke the device and handed it over to him. And he also wins like the show long chess game. So
yeah.
So evil doesn't come ahead. Everybody gets there. Bunting doesn't get to destroy the world. The lady went to jail for killing her husband, and Jane won the chess game. So everything's turned up roses for the CBI.
So evil didn't win, and then question mark. You know how I feel about Jane. It's like, yeah, he's another form of evil. It's just relatable.
Yeah, it was an all right episode. So
yeah, it was fun. Like I said, I know where they got. I pull a lot of inferences in sometimes in The Mentalist. Like, oh yeah, reminds me of that.
Yeah, I mean every show does it because
yeah. There's only so many ideas out there, and you got to do 28 of these things. You're not doing like 2-hour movie or something. There'll be an episode of the Mentalist that's like 7, I'm sure.
Yeah,
that's coming.
I mean, I had 7 vibes in the first season because of how they shot it, and it was just kind of like a bleak California suburbs, or no, it was like bleak California like farmland, and then dead bodies. And now we've kind of been more city based for season 2.
Yeah, season 2 they've definitely upped the production values and tightened up the story writing quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's like Jane on a farm, like chewing on a piece of straw. It's like, yeah, it's California, right? Okay. There are parts of California that are like that, but it's not what you associate in your mind.
Yeah. I mean, but they are in Northern California, so that would make more sense. But you have all of California to do stories with. So.
Yeah, it's a massive state. More people live there than Australia, so.
And then for our third show, we have Miami Vice, Season 2, Episode 21, Freeverse. Original air date, April 4th, 1986, NBC Friday. The team is assigned to protect a renowned poet who has come to the U.S. seeking political asylum. With sexy Carmen in the mix, things get complicated. I don't even know who that is. Is that the assassin lady?
Yeah.
Okay. This is like
Bianca Jagger.
No, Bianca's the daughter, isn't it?
No, that's the assassin lady.
Oh, okay. Well, I gotta rewrite these notes.
Oh, yeah. No.
And then showrunner Michael Mann. Teleplay by John Trombetta. Story by Shell Williams and, not ampersand, Jim Trombetta. So it was
it shows.
So it's 2 stories stuck together, and they didn't write it together. And then one guy wrote the screenplay or the teleplay. Directed by John Nicola. I also missed this. I wrote down the trivia that Michael Biehn Michael Bay. Michael Bay is one of the goons.
Oh, okay.
It says Michael Bay as Goon 3, and I guess also, what's his name? There's another famous goon in here. He's already in this season. He was in the opening episode. I'll find it real quick.
Okay.
Good thing about post editing, I can just cut all this out. Yeah, Luis Guzman is another goon in this episode. He's already
he
in
is?
season.
Okay.
I didn't recognize him, but yeah, that's in the cast list. But so super weird thing about trying to watch this is no longer on Peacock anymore.
Huh. Wonder why.
I don't know. Now it's like on Stars, but not on Stars. It's also not on the NBC website, which it used to be. So now if I go to the Stars website and I try to find Me Vice, it's not there. It's specifically on the Stars app for Roku.
Okay. Weird.
Yeah. So, and
Can't think of any reason why.
well, I can't find a way where I can actually so I watched it on the Roku channel on a website, but there's no way I can link my cable subscription to Stars through Roku. They want you to buy a Roku box, which I used to own one, but it's so old, it probably doesn't work anymore. But so yeah, I gotta find stupid ways to watch Miami Vice because technically they put a pay. You can watch all the episodes except for the first and last episode. They put a pay thing on it. It's buy a subscription if you want to watch this episode. So that's super weird. We've had Miami Vice jump so many streaming services. I don't know why it's getting tossed around so much.
That's why I just bought the whole thing on disc because I just gave up with this nonsense.
But yeah, that was super weird because I know the Miami Vice Michael Mann movie just got added to HBO Max, and I heard both versions did, but I only see one on there because
isn't there a 4-hour version of it?
Yeah,
or
there's
something?
a director's cut out there that I hear is genius. Although there's been this weird, a lot of people are coming back to the Miami Vice 2008 movie and it's because if you look at the ratings it got, it was pretty minimal. It was average, and now everyone's no, this was genius, and it's well, I gotta look at it again because I remember it being cool, but I don't remember it being genius.
Well, I remember it being exactly what I thought Miami Vice should be as a movie.
Yeah,
cool main actors, lots of expensive stuff, driving fast, lots of shootouts.
Yeah.
And it's I don't care. It's because it's all just that Michael Mann style.
Yeah.
That's cool. I would like to see the 4-hour version, but I remember it being an adequate movie.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember I went and saw it, and then my truck got stolen. That's what I always associate with the Miami Vice movies. It's the night my truck got stolen.
I remember it being entertaining, but also disappointing. But
yeah, well, it didn't.
I think that was also coming off of Collateral, which was really cool.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is I want to go back. I want to be in the mindset of Collateral while I'm watching Miami Vice.
I don't think this was. I don't think necessarily I think Collateral is a better movie, but they're also just different things. So
yeah, well, Collateral's a character stuff. Collateral's almost a play.
Yeah.
Very cool the way it's done. That's why I always Michael Mann will always have a kind place in my heart just because of some of the stuff he's done like that, where it's this is really cool. No one else does this way.
Yeah, because if you look at Collateral, it's you think it's a big action movie, but no, it's a very specific action movie. When it does action, it's so specific and cool that's it makes you feel that it's way bigger than it is. It's 3-second shootouts, but it's that guy did 50 things.
Yeah, it's really hard hitting action when it comes.
Yeah.
And it's also the actors were Tom Cruise playing someone who's Tom Cruise has never played.
Yeah.
And doing a great job. It's well, you didn't expect that from Tom Cruise.
It's not an ensemble. It's two guys. It's Jamie Foxx and Tom Cruise the whole movie.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some other people in there, but you don't remember them. It's pretty much a 2-person movie. So
Yeah, I remember like the girl at the end, like the U.S. attorney that he's supposed to kill. She did a good job. It's
Was that
um,
is that like Tandy Newton? Was that?
I don't
I can't remember.
remember. Don't remember.
Just look it up really quick, see if I'm right. Also, she like slightly changed her name. I forget how it was.
Yeah,
The collector. No, now I completely forgot the movie. What's it called?
Collateral.
Collateral. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We got. Oh, was it Jada Pinkett Smith? Oh, it was Jada Pinkett Smith. Okay.
Okay, yeah, she did a good job.
And and Peter Berg is like the dumb cop in the movie before he
Oh
started,
yeah, yeah,
before he started directing blockbusters. Actually,
right.
probably around the time.
Yeah, I think he did this, and he's like, okay, I've learned some things.
I mean, I think he was already a director, but it's kind of a fun thing where it's like a director or an actor who's turned director, and then like doing like an acting role for his buddy. It's like, don't you direct? Don't you direct blockbusters?
Well, it's like, yeah, John Favreau did that.
Yeah, that's true. Um, so you have a plane landing. There's some dark synth music playing. We have a mysterious lady.
Yep.
um, then like they pan across and you see Gina and Trudy are there, but then they keep following the mysterious lady.
Yeah, you don't know what's going on in the movie because there's like she's walking through wearing sunglasses and stuff, and then it's like, well, she cleared customs. They X-rayed her bag, and then you have the guy Sandoval, who's like a political activist who's wheeled. They never say what country he's from, do they?
I heard mention of Argentina, but I think that was like indirect. I think it
Okay.
was just supposed to be vague South American country.
Yeah, because this was at the same time like crazy stuff was going on in Central America.
Yeah.
And America, of course, the CIA was deeply involved in. We got to keep the communists out. It's like, how do we do that? Fund murderers. Like, okay, yeah, we'll set up our own. Like, we'll send them to murder school here in America with the CIA. And
Yeah, Sandoval's in like he's like an electric wheelchair, and like all of Vice is guarding him. Like even Castillo's there.
yeah, the whole like the Vice squad. Miami Dade or wherever is like they're been pressed into service as Secret Service agents now, because
Apparently some Fed thought they couldn't do it as well as Vice could, so they gave it to Vice.
yeah, it's just like, okay, this is the story. They're doing close protection detail.
The mysterious lady gets handed a gun with a silencer. Then the lady kind of pretends to be an interviewer as a reporter, and she tells, and then she asks him some question like, "Do you want to interview me later on?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And then she like walks up to her handlers and she's like, "That old men will be easy to kill."
Yeah,
I see where I screwed up. Like, the lady is called her name. Her actual name is Bianca Jaeger or
Jagger. Yeah, Mick Jagger's ex-wife.
Oh, okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense. But so the daughter character, her character name is Bianca.
It was Blanca.
Oh, is it Blanca? Okay.
Yeah, but they say it with a like Spanish accent, so it's a Blanca, come here. So you don't know exactly because they're saying it fast. But yeah, it's one's Blanca, the other's Bianca, but her name in the show is Carmen.
Yeah.
And I was like, where is Carmen Sandiego? Oh, she's trying to kill some old poet some old socialist poet from Central America in a wheelchair.
And I guess they put him in the wheel. I don't know if that guy's actually like disabled or they just put him in a wheelchair to like imply like bad things happen to him.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, he's a white guy from Pennsylvania. He's Irish or Irish American. His name's Bern Piven. He's more of a playwright and a stage actor.
Oh, okay.
Which is why this guy had a lot of like dialogues. A lot of it said like to himself in an alleyway about what he's doing and why, and because he's in Miami, of course, to receive recognition and to testify before Congress about the death squads in Central America and
Yeah.
all the stuff that was really going on back then. And but yeah, like I said, the Miami Vice Squad is this protection detail.
We come back from the opening credits after she says the old man will be easy to kill, and then Tubbs shows up at one of their luxury safe houses.
Yes. Yes, their $10 million beachfront safe house that they got from drug dealers.
Yeah, because like this season there's been a bunch of that. In the first season, like we're gonna have like you in a safe house and it's just some drubby hotel.
Yeah, it's like a flop in Miami that you just know is hot by looking at it. It's like, oh, that's a hot place in Florida.
And everyone's just watching like 1930s cartoons, so you know everything is wrong.
Yeah.
And then Sandoval's explaining like his life story and how like they imprisoned him and like he basically wrote some manifesto and they just tore it up in front of him. He seems kind of like overinflated with his self-worth, but that's all just a cover.
Yeah.
So we'll find out. And then Casillo's just like telling Sandoval's like, yeah, we need to skip all your appearances because they're going to try to kill you. Like the most important thing is the congressional meeting. And
yeah.
Sandoval's like, no, I want to meet people. It's like, oh, okay.
Oh, I'm in a wheelchair. I'm old. I'm horny. I need to meet young women.
And Castillo's like, okay, we'll set up the detail.
All right, now I'm going to get like 5 of my guys killed, I guess, so this guy can get a Medal of Freedom from a bunch of socialists. You know, it's just like, yeah.
We got the lady assassin. She just has like a trunk full of basically the Miami Vice arsenal. Like, you know, every gun they've had in the episode, just put it in the trunk.
Yep, put it in the trunk, and yeah, she's ready to go.
And then there's some dude in a Porsche that's like watching the assassins.
Yeah.
What's that about? Tubbs gets to know Sandoval's daughter, Bianca, and then she says like all her father wants to do is just with his fame is to meet young women. And so yeah, that's pretty much the whole episode.
Yeah.
Vice takes Sandoval to some function. They're all dressed up.
Yeah, it's like a modern art gallery or something.
Tubbs makes Sandoval lay down in the back with like a blanket over him. It's like people are gonna try to shoot you.
Puts up the convertible top.
Yeah.
It's like, that better be Kevlar.
And then like Zito and Switek also have a convertible and they have his chair in the back seat.
Yeah, and it doesn't collapse down. It's just standing up. I guess chairs in the 80s didn't collapse down. I don't know. Maybe the electric ones don't. I don't know.
Well, also, like, yeah, getting around the 80s with something like that would just be, you would have to have an army of people with you. You couldn't do anything by yourself.
That was way before the ADA was signed into law. So,
yeah.
Like, because you'd have to, like, carry that guy up the stairs and stuff, you know.
Yeah, so they show up to, like, this weird art gallery to applause.
Yeah.
The assassins
and it's the most
too.
tacky modern art, like, horror show. I think they did that on purpose just to be goofy. I don't know.
They're walking around and Sandoval notices the assassin lady and says, see you later. Because he's just hitting on all the women in the place. And it seems that Bianca knows the Porsche dude. I wrote down brother because she says, you must meet Papa. And I was like, is she just meaning her dad in general? Or is that like the brother? It's not a brother. He's apparently just some student that he used to be a student of his or something. Sandoval hits on the assassin lady. She has a gun strapped to her leg. And then she like very obviously like pulls it out to shoot him, but like, you know, has to make a statement before she shoots him. And then Tubbs just shoots her dead.
Yeah, just blasts her, you know, from across the room.
With his sniper, you know, 38 snub nose.
Yeah, the 38 snub nose. It's 1,000-yard gun in Miami Vice. That's actually the Bren 10, but yeah.
I mean, they weren't that far apart, but there's a lot of like
a lot of people.
Later. And then Sandoval just kind of seems miffed and unimpressed by like the
you think it's like, okay, Sandoval's gonna like come back to Earth.
Yeah,
it's like this woman was shot to death in front of you while trying to kill you. Like, maybe it's like, nope, he doesn't miss a step.
Then we come back from break, and Sandoval's like at the safe house, and he's just like trashing potential poetry. He's just like throwing it aside, and then he decides like, I want a gun for myself, and then like they don't want to give him a gun.
Yeah, I like it because Crockett and Tubbs are sitting there, and he's like, "Are you nuts? No, this is America. Everyone has a gun." It's like, well, yeah, you gotta. Okay, give him a gun, guys. Like he's rolling around his wheelchair with a 50 cal or something. Okay.
The Porsche guy is Manuel Guerrero. He's an old student of Sandoval. Bianca like hits on Tubbs, but Tubbs just kind of brushes it off because, lately that all goes wrong. So he knows to avoid that for now.
Look, you don't want to sleep with me, okay? You're gonna die. If you sleep with me, you're gonna die. Why? Do you have disease? It's like, no. It just the last chick set herself on fire in front of me, and like Crockett had to shoot her. It's a weird story, and we were listening to, what was it? Public Image Limited. It's like, yes, a robot came into the room. Oh no, another movie. But
which I looked up that movie. You can't find it anywhere. It's not streaming.
No, it's weird. It's a great movie, but it's like, well, it's not a great movie. It's just kind of cool.
Well done for what it was.
Yeah, for what it was, for its $10,000 budget, it was a pretty cool movie.
Then we have Gina and Trudy are trailing Manuel, and then like the right winger guys grab him and they take off with Manuel. They pull out a machine gun and or some machine gun and fire it at Trudy as they like announce themselves from like a third floor balcony.
Yeah, Trudy and the other lady are doing
Gina.
multi-story surveillance, and these guys come in with machine guns and they whip their 38s out like Miami Vice, and of course this guy's just like, but they can easily duck and get out of the way because the bullets have to travel so far against gravity because they're like 100 stories away from this dude. We lost them. It's like, yeah, no shit.
Also, in a crowd full of people, they return fire.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, maybe I'm because I'm just a civilian and I only know how to shoot guns like in a loose way. Maybe they just have the presence of mind that they know it's like, I'm not going to hit any innocent people firing a snub-nosed pistol from 100 stories away. But I don't know. Actually, wasn't 100 stories, but it was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah,
you can tell they just made it to make that shot.
Yeah.
Because it looked cool. It's like, this guy's firing a machine gun. It's dangerous.
But there's a team meeting. Crockett's worried that Manuel will give up the safe house because they captured him. Castillo makes it clear that Sandoval's next public appearance is his last before he does a congressional thing. So they go to some theater or whatever, and Sandoval just like reads poetry to a packed audience. Some guy,
and they let this go on for like 10 minutes in the show.
There's some guy in the audience who like reaches for a bag, and then Crockett sees him and like he just grabs him and kicks him out of the auditorium.
Yeah, like how did he get a bag in there?
Sandoval finishes his poem and he gets a standing ovation.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, we have like the SWAT team and Zito and Switek with some future shotguns at the time or something.
Yeah. Weird guns.
They raid like the right winger base,
which is an abandoned mansion on a beach somewhere.
Yeah. And Manuel's like being tortured with like sound or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't quite. I tried to look that up, and it was like dental drills and stuff like that played at high, which would just like any noise that loud would be painful. Like that's
well, like the guy puts on earmuffs before he hits play.
Yeah,
and that's why he doesn't see like SWAT team like making a beeline for them. So that, they get Manuel out, and then we have I think we go to break again because we come back and Tubbs and Crockett are interviewing Manuel in the hospital. Crockett doesn't buy Manuel's story.
Yeah, he doesn't trust Manuel.
The conversation kind of becomes political because it's like you have right-wing death squads, and then you have these left-wing guerrillas who are also just killing people indiscriminately. And so, and then Crockett's like seems to, I don't know, not take sides. He just doesn't care. He thinks Crockett's a centrist here. He's like, both sides.
Yeah, one man's freedom fighters is another man's terrorist. It's all pointless. You're just fighting over the same patch of poverty. Doesn't matter if you're communist or capitalist, you're just poor. You know, he doesn't say that, but he might as well.
Actually, I think he just gets mad because she's like, well, what your country's doing. He's like, listen, lady, I'm not here to do politics.
Don't say anything about America as long as you stand on our soil.
And then Sandoval's he's gone missing on his own, so he wasn't taken. And then Bianca gave Sandoval a gun.
Yeah.
And then, like, and
then we have the weirdest club scene.
Well, a little bit. Because like, everyone has cool car stuff. Because like Trudy and Gina, who like Gina used to have like just like a shitty like Cutlass Supreme or something where like the roof was coming down and shit. Here she's got a Toyota MR2, which I'm not sure how those were received at the time, but now they're like huge collector items.
Those were actually really cool cars. They were advanced for their time.
Yeah.
Because I think their power to weight ratio is really good. Because it doesn't have a big super sport engine, but it doesn't weigh anything either. So it's like you can really pull some shit with those.
And is it like mid-mounted engine or rear?
Yeah, it's a mid-mount, mid-rear. Yeah. It's fun to work on.
Oh, really? Okay.
No, it's terrible. It's gotta have a hoist.
Oh, okay. Then we're at some club where Suicidal Tendencies is playing, which I always associate them with like 90s skater culture. I did not know they existed.
Oh no, they've been around since like 82, I think.
Yeah. So
and they were singing Institutionalized, which was like cool.
I was not expecting this at all.
I didn't remember it, but once it started, I was like, oh yeah, okay.
And at first I was like, oh, they're just playing the song. But no, they're there as the band playing.
Actually Suicidal Tendencies, yep.
And of course,
they play almost the whole song too.
Yeah. Sandoval's just there and he's out of place. He's like trying to dance with the ladies in his wheelchair.
Yeah, it's kind of like a weird like Miami punk bar.
Yeah.
But it's also like got the Future Grosso, like we got a bunch of gloves full of sand hanging down. Isn't that spooky? And it's all that pastel color scheme, but we're all punks. It's like, okay, this is somebody's idea of what that would be like.
Hector's drinking and partying with a loaded gun. He's like partying with this lady who like know who she is, so they're like dancing. And
she's like, "Oh, I know your poetry. I love your whatever." And
then some meathead like walks up and like takes her away because presumably it's like her boyfriend. I thought it was like security. It was like, why is he taking her away? It's like, oh, it's her boyfriend or something.
Yeah.
And so Sandoval just shoots the gun in the air and like and ruins the party. Everything goes quiet.
But the thing is, everyone knew he had the gun already.
Yeah.
Because the one girl was like, he pulled out the gun and she was like, cool. You know, it's like, just nobody.
Fight the power, man.
Yeah. It was the best thing that could have happened. Until he starts shooting it. Then it's like, whoa, wait a minute, dude. As a symbol, as a metaphor. No, don't actually shoot the gun.
So then he leaves, and then the next scene is just Sandoval's drunkenly like delivering poetry in the empty streets.
And this goes on for like another 10 minutes. It's like we're getting all our traction out of this stage actor and playwright because he probably wrote his own stuff. They're like, yeah, cool, go with it. It adds character to the show.
Yeah. And then Sandoval is like trying to shoot the street light, but he misses. And then Tubb shows up and grabs the gun away. They're really mad at him at first, but then Crockett decides to be empathetic. And he's like, hey, man, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And I guess he's just feeling sorry for himself because he's just like coasting on all his old material. He hasn't written anything new in like years.
Yeah, you actually kind of feel for it's kind of a weird character, but then you're like, oh yeah, this is a man kind of at the end.
Yeah.
He was a leftist revolutionary at one time, and now he's just sort of like he's become like this what would you call that, like those kind of the grandfather figures of whatever movements, and he's not happy with that role.
And meanwhile at the hospital in Manuel's room, Bianca gets a call in the hospital that she gets tricked to going downstairs, and then like the right wingers capture her and take her away.
Yeah.
Of Croc and Tubbs take Sandoval to Vice. Castillo says that their safe house was under surveillance by these right-winger guys, and apparently Manuel is like a left-wing guerrilla that also wants Sandoval dead so he can be a martyr.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone wants Sandoval dead for different reasons.
Including Sandoval.
Yeah, including him. So the Reagan faction and the Chomsky faction both want him dead, and he himself also wants to die. And following Miami Vice logic, he's probably the only one in the episode who doesn't. Because, you know, you never get what you want.
Yeah. So yeah, Sandoval gets a ransom call at Vice for his daughter. Croc and Tubbs are like watching with night vision goggles for like some super Jeep.
Yeah,
a lot of cars in this episode.
Yeah, this is a car-rich episode, a technology-rich episode, because they have a night vision monocle that's as big as like a Kasigian astronomy scope that they can sort of see at night with. Like they kind of make it look cool. And Switek has like an M16 with a giant starlight scope on it and a bipod, which is like just nonsense thrown together to look cool on TV. But
and then like Sandoval like goes up to this place and like a lady comes out with a submachine gun and she's like gonna take him in and he like knocks her over and then like, it's gone wrong, they're gonna shoot him now. They just open fire on everybody.
Well, yeah, because the Jeep has like 50 lights on it.
Yeah.
And then they flip on the lights. It's like, Miami Vice, stop what you're doing. And then Switek just drops the lady with the submachine gun like immediately.
And there's some guy on a balcony somewhere that they shoot and he falls over or something.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like the Miami Vice team has now transitioned from Secret Service to now they're Navy SEALs. Like, they're all over the place.
I mean, they do have SWAT with them, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this is the first time we've seen the SWAT guys seriously in a while.
I think Crockett has the Steyr AUG again. I'm not sure.
I don't remember.
And then like Sandoval makes his way indoors and he's like talking to the assassins and like they're trying to like make a trade-off. He's like, well, I did my end of the deal. They don't immediately say like, the cops are here, you did not hold up the end of your deal. Yeah,
it seems like they're pretty casual about like yeah, there's snipers taking out our gunmen on the roof. It's like, we can still do this thing. We're still gonna have like a 5-minute conversation about this.
So the assassins make it look like they're gonna kill both the Sandovals, and then of course SWAT and Vice show up and kill everybody except for the Sandovals. So.
Literally from one end of the room to the other. Like they're just like 30 guys there with guns. It's like, yeah, the Sandovals make it again.
And then they're outshot. Then they're outside, and then Manuel shows up, and he's like, and they're like, "Why are you at the hospital?" And then he's like, "Oh, like I just want you to know I love you too." And he pulls a gun on him. He's gonna kill them both or whatever because he needs to make him a martyr. And then Crockett just shoots Manuel dead. That's in the episode.
Yeah, just scene. It's like, yeah, Sandoval's life really sucks. Everyone has died around him except his daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, this episode was a mess.
I don't know. I think it's
kind of good, but it was sort of a mess.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ideas in there, but yeah, it just kind of didn't make sense. But like you can see, like, you know, okay, we're gonna tackle some South America stuff. We're gonna have all these cool things here, which I think the John Nicolello episodes have a lot of those like going on.
Yeah.
Remember, I think he also remember that episode that had like oh crap, the guy from Pulp Fiction. He played remember that episode where like they're also on like some weird abandoned beach motel and there's like kids holding people hostage and there's like also people living in there, and then Tubbs like pretends to be like a Jamaican like guitarist and he walks himself into there. That was another John Nicolello.
Oh yeah, that was a hotel episode. Yeah, because
So-
they had the underage gangbanger wannabes from South America or something.
Yeah.
Okay, now I can see the DNA in this.
yeah.
It's a lot of abandoned places because this the hotel that they filmed this in, the end scene, like that must have really been like, hey, can we film here? because it was actually an abandoned hotel. Because you remember all the mattresses piled up everywhere
Yeah.
when the right winger guerrillas were walking through. I was like, that's some wonderful set stuff. And then the more I watched the episode, I was like, no, they're just filming this in an abandoned hotel. This is like really an abandoned hotel. So, yeah, I mean, I like I said, I sort of like the Sandoval character because the actor was good,
Yeah.
and it was like this was not a typical Miami Vice like scumbags versus cops,
Yeah.
or super psychotic drug dealers. Like, no, this guy was kind of a sad character who believed in something, and everyone's manipulating him.
I think the right wingers don't work. I think you need to do more with that assassin lady because she had a look to her and she seemed interesting and she got no character.
Yeah.
She seemed dangerous at first and then she's dead.
And Bianca Jagger is from that part of the world, and she's like a human rights activist for all the stuff that was going on down there. And that's, I mean, you know, remember we watched, we did Oliver Stone, we watched Salvador and stuff like that. This is all about that stuff.
Yeah.
Which was a big thing at the time. Now those countries have just like caved in on themselves, and we're just trying to figure out. That's why I have this huge immigrant crisis now, because those countries have just ceased effectively being governed. I mean, unless, you know, gang membership is a form of government, but yeah. It was an okay episode of Miami Vice. It could have clicked along a little more coherently.
I don't know. I've seen way worse episodes this season.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, this is the worst thing we've ever seen. I like it because it's timely and topical for the time it was created. It was like kind of ballsy to even talk about this stuff, considering we're a year away from the Iran-Contra hearings because, you know, all that stuff. So it's like, yeah, this was actually topical.
But that's why I pointed out that there was that it was a story. There was 2 story by credits by people that written it separately. So obviously it was like two stories thrown together. So that's what happened.
It even had a different name.
Oh, did it? Huh.
Yeah, it was called Zero Solution was the other name of the episode. But they went with free verse because this guy was a poet.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Huh. Well, if you liked what you heard, and how couldn't you? You can find us at anchor.fm/Verhoeven Effect, or you can go to verhoeveneffect.com. We'll take you to the same place. Whatever platform that you're listening to us on, if it allows rating, you can rate us whatever you want, but the highest rating is the only thing the algorithm listens to. Remember, you control the algorithm. The algorithm doesn't control you. We also have listener support at verhoeveneffect.com, where you can sponsor us at a monthly stipend of 99 cents, $4.99, or $9.99. You can also find us at Twitter at Verhoeven Effect, Facebook at Verhoeven Effect. You can find us on YouTube at American Greed Factory, where we play both this, well, yeah, that show and this show live and unedited.
Sometimes in the future.
And you can also find t-shirts at belowthecollar.com/Greed Factory. So for the Verhoeven Effect podcast, this is Conlon.
This is Nathan.
Goodbye, America.